Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Krishna Mukherjee from ETH, once again welcoming you all to the Economic Times live webinar with the hope that we will beat COVID-19 and this too shall pass. Thank you for joining us in today's webinar, Work and Play Together, Best Practices for Remote Working. This webinar is brought to you by ETH, powered by Lark. The best part about COVID is that it is teaching us new ways to do things. Remote working is quickly becoming the new normal. In fact, remote working is an enlightened way to work. Learning how to manage a remote organization can create lasting benefits for your business with the right tools. Ladies and gentlemen, today our webinar will revolve around some of the best practices for remote working, and we will get to know about some tips on how remote working works and how to make it work during this crisis and beyond. Happy to introduce our speakers for today, Mr. Vinay Bhatia, Country Director, Lark India, Anand Devarajan, Product Manager, Lark, Zara Zhang, Product Marketing Manager, Lark, Rajesh Nair, Founder, Interactive Marketing. Before I hand it over to our first speaker, Vinay, request you all to be please present till the end of the webinar and answer the feedback form. Also visit webinar website for detailed terms and conditions. With that, over to you, Vinay.
Thank you, Krishna. Hi, everyone. I think the diversity of speakers and the attendees with regards to locations is a testament of the times we are in. Currently, unfortunate due to the COVID-19 situation, but how we are going to be moving forward in terms of remote working and borderless working. Anand is in the US, Zara is in Singapore, myself in Mumbai, and obviously all our attendees from multiple locations. So thank you, ETH, to give us this opportunity to share a brief about best practices for remote working and also Lark. I think one of the key things that today's enterprises should take care or take note of is what are the key elements that are required for an organization to successfully function. That is, how do I communicate with my team members? How do I collaborate with my team members? How do I get my work functions or business continuity done? And how does all this stay connected with my existing systems or applications? So briefly introducing Lark as the next generation office suite that truly enables the entire organization, that is frontline workers as well as knowledge workers, to be on a single platform and stay connected, communicate with each other, collaborate with each other, work on different projects together, and also stay connected with existing systems. Basically, Lark offers communication, which is chat, video conferencing, up to 100 people, unlimited minutes, live streaming, announcements. On the collaboration side, Lark Drive, 200 GB drive space, Lark Documents, Lark Sheets. And on the office automation on the business continuity side, manage workflows like approvals, attendance, reports, and check-ins. Obviously, the open platform enables you to have APIs, connectors, mini apps, third-party applications, and bots that can further empower you as an organization of any size to continue your work. So in India, we are already serving close to 200 customers, and Rajesh, one of our panelists today, also will share some of his experiences. So without further ado, my humble request is stay safe, stay home, and stay connected. Back to you, Krishna.
Yeah, thanks, Vinay, for that. Thanks for that context. So with that, let me hand it over to Zara Zhang, Product Marketing Manager Lark, and Anand Devarajan, Product Manager Lark, to share their insights. Over to you, Zara and Anand.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Zara, and I'm a product marketing manager at Lark. And today I wanted to share with you guys some of our thoughts on remote working and why tools are so important when you're working remotely and how Lark can help with that. So can everyone see my screen? So the title of the presentation is Work and Play Together, Best Practices for Remote Working. So the first point we wanted to discuss is we believe the future of work is remote and that remote working is not a lesser option. So we know that because of the COVID-19 situation has forced a lot of businesses that didn't used to work remotely to start considering it. But our opinion is actually remote working is an enlightened way to work in its own right. So businesses can actually take advantage of this opportunity to upgrade your way of working, and because it can improve your overall efficiency and productivity as an organization. And remote working actually has numerous benefits. For example, you definitely get a more flexible schedule. Your team has more autonomy on how they organize their own days and how to be productive. People can work from anywhere. You're not restricted by geographical location. And the biggest implication of that is that you get an enlarged talent pool. So in the past, you might have to restrict where you hire talent based on where most of your team is based. So it's difficult for someone to recruit another person based in another city to report into them. But right now, since everyone is forced to work remotely, that is, geography is not a consideration anymore. And this really frees you up to enlarge your talent pool to talent from all over the country and even from the world. And other benefits such as no dress code. So meaning that everyone can really work in the comfort of their home. So next, we just wanted to share some pro tips for remote working that might be helpful to you guys in the current situation. The first one is really about choosing the right tools. So we believe that the way we work is shaped by the tools we use. This is true during normal times, but it's even more true during the current situation. Because when when everyone is working from home, you don't have a physical office environment, so the only so-called office you have lives in your tools. So it's really about the softwares you're using on an everyday basis. Like that will determine your productivity and have a huge impact on the outcome of your work. So we believe you're only as good as the tools you use. So imagine you're using a subpar tool, whereas your competitors are using world-class tools. It's really difficult to compete against your competitors if they're all using better tools than you. So if you're working in a competitive field, tools are almost like your weapons. You have to choose the best tools in order to win. So for this, we have two tips. The first one is really invest in the right tools. We believe that choosing the right tools from the very beginning can have a huge impact on your organization later on. And the second one is really use the tools to your fullest. I'm sure we've all been in organizations where there are a lot of softwares that people are asked to use, but people just don't use them, or they only use a part of what the tool is supposed to do. And we really encourage everyone to not just pick their tools, but also ensure that they're actually used the way they're supposed to be and to the fullest potential. The second best practice is really about communication. Keep the conversation flowing, because when you're not face-to-face, communication is not the same. So we believe you actually need to over-communicate with context when you're working remotely, because you're missing a lot of that spontaneous water cooler conversation that you can have when you're all physically together. So we believe that, so for example, taking the time to schedule regular one-on-ones with your team, or weekly or bi-weekly stand-up meetings, just to make sure everyone gets on the same page, and then sharing context extensively, because a lot of times when people are missing the context, they end up making the wrong decision, not because they're not good at what they're doing, just because they don't have the right context. And context is even harder to come by during remote working. So we all need to go out of our way to really talk to each other and over-communicate. And the third one is encourage group chats. So here at the Lark team, we, in Lark as a communication tool, has both DM, direct messaging, as well as group chats. And we really encourage most of our communication to happen in group chats, because then we can keep more of our teammates in the loop so they have more context. And this way, all of the communication is also documented and easy to find later on. So how can Lark help with the free flow of communication? Here's just a quick demo of Lark Messenger, which is one of the integral parts of Lark. As you can see, of course, you can chat with teammates or groups of teammates. You have a read receipt, so you know exactly when your message is read or not. You can reply with emojis. It's equally easy on mobile as on desktop. You can do things like threaded reply, so you can reply directly to one specific message. So it's very clear who you're talking to, and your messages are threaded and organized. So the next tip is, we also believe that communication can happen not just in chats, but actually in docs as well. So this is what we call asynchronous communication. So a lot of times when we need to discuss something, you may want to write it down in the form of a document. And Lark Docs has a very convenient commenting feature that allows your teammates to put comments about specific phrases or parts of a document. So they can ask a question, a very directed question, or you can have a very pointed discussion about a specific part of the document. And this makes your communication a lot more focused and effective. So we believe that not all communication has to happen in meetings or in chats. We think you can use docs as a creative way to communicate asynchronously, even when people are not in the same time zone. The next thing we wanted to discuss is spontaneous communication. So as I mentioned, you don't get a lot of water cooler casual conversation when you're working remotely. So we actually built a feature called Virtual Office, which is basically an audio chat room for your team. So you can actually stay in there all day long so to talk with your teammates. And because it's audio only, because a lot of people are actually uncomfortable with all-day video calls. So we made it audio only, so it's just the right balance between staying in touch with your team and maintaining privacy as well. So you can just hop on and off and mute yourself when you feel like it. So video calls are meant for purposeful communication when you have a subject to talk about. Virtual Office is designed for spontaneous communication when you just want to chat about life in general, or team building events, happy hours, and so on. And we also, Lark Messenger has a very powerful auto translate feature. So if you have teammates from multiple language backgrounds that speak different languages, everyone can speak in their native language and everything can be translated at one click automatically. So you don't actually need to click on each message one by one. So this is the freedom to communicate in people's native language. So the next tip is communicate face-to-face even when apart. So the biggest impact of COVID-19 is that we need to practice social distancing and we cannot congregate in person. But with the current technology we have, of course, we can still meet face-to-face. And actually, more than 70% of all communication is nonverbal. This really underscores the importance of showing your face when you're communicating, because a lot of what we say is actually said by our body language or facial expression and the nonverbal elements. So we recommend scheduling video conferences and really turn your camera on during those calls, because the whole point is so that we can see each other and share content during calls so that you can have a more focused discussion. So here's how we can help remote teams do face-to-face communication. So of course, we have a very robust video calling feature where you can actually enjoy unlimited minutes. So no 40 minutes limit, even for the free version. You can join on either desktop or mobile, and it can hold up to 100 participants at the same time. And you can also start a call directly from a calendar event. So you don't need for any links or IDs. And you can also join a meeting with a meeting ID. And the call is very smooth and reliable. And then when we talked about sharing content during the call, so of course, many video conferencing softwares have a screen share function, which we also have. So during your call, you can share your screen so that the participant can see what you're looking at. But we also have a magic share feature where you can actually share a Lark doc. It's a dynamic content, it's not your screen. And everyone can actually click view on your own to scroll the doc at their own pace. So if you're going through a document really quickly, people can just go back on their own. And everyone can also edit the file simultaneously right from within the video call window. So this is the true definition of remote collaboration. So next, I'll pass it to Anand, who will take over the second part of the session.
Cool. Thanks so much, Zara. I just wanted to make sure everyone could hear me okay. Awesome. So Yeah, Zara just mentioned a little bit about Magic Share, and I just want to bounce off of that because it's really hard to see Magic Share without trying Magic Share. It truly is a little bit magical. I really like it. Previously, I've been at other companies where you're on a Zoom call and then someone opens up another Google Docs, and sometimes it's blurry, sometimes you can't see it. You got to go find the doc yourself. So having Magic Share to have the doc right there in front of you, and you could actually go and view through it, leave comments, and edit it while still seeing everyone on the call is pretty awesome. And the cool thing about Magic Share that is pretty, I think, awesome that you have to try out is seeing it on mobile because it automatically formats the document to the mobile screen size instead of showing you a screen share of the desktop. Anyways, so moving on to the next part, that was awesome, Zara. For the next part, we really think on the next slide, if you go to that, Zara. Number 4. Yep, cool. So yeah, the next slide is all about staying organized with shared calendars. During this time, just like we saw in that video, it's so hard to know the rhythm, the ebbs and the flows of if people are in the office. You know, when you're in an office setting, you know, when everyone goes to lunch, you could see if people are at their desk, but you miss a little bit of that, especially when everyone's working remote. But work shouldn't have to stop just because you don't know what your colleague's availability is. Next slide. I think there's a little hiccup going to the next slide. Oh, Zara, can you help me go to the next slide? There you go.
Yeah, it just takes a bit of time. Yeah.
Gotcha. No worries. Yeah, so I can't emphasize enough how powerful a calendar feature plays during this time and really just putting everything on it. Everything from your lunchtime to when you work out or to any kind of activities you have going on in the day. And especially, I like how Zara mentioned earlier on, people have been doing remote working for a while now, but a lot of people are thrown and thrust into this new working style just because of the very nature of COVID and what it's done to us. Really giving your colleagues a heads up with the activities you have going on via the calendar is something that Lark really helps out with. And especially when this time you could use different color-coded calendars and make them public for different people to see. Another thing is shared calendars amongst your teams and also allowing you to subscribe for your colleagues' calendars. I think we have a little bit of a quick GIF that shows that on the next slide. So if we jump 2 down. While it's loading, I could talk a little bit about it. You know, booking calendar and appointments with Lark is really a breeze. The really cool thing about it, it's all integrated into one app. So you could actually go right from a group chat. In the group chat, you could take the people that are in that specific group chat to create a calendar appointment. And on mobile, it's pretty easy too. You could create which participants you'd like to set up for a meeting and then really easily see what times or what availabilities they have, and then book it right there. Another cool thing about our calendar feature that I'm a personal fan of is right from the calendar, you could one click to go into a group meeting to discuss that topic. So oftentimes, maybe there's a, let's talk about this webinar, or maybe we want to talk about a marketing plan, and you could actually pre-game the actual event by having a group chat to talk about it right there. And in that group chat, you could have a document as well. So the calendar is a really interesting feature in the Lark ecosystem because it ties together, you know, everyone's availability. It ties together one click to video chat, ties together one click to create doc into meeting notes. So calendar really helps making work during this time and working remotely a lot more efficient.
Did the GIF
play? Yeah, the GIF played a little bit. I think it might have been a little bit laggy for everyone, so we'll be sure to kind of share some stuff later on as well. Moving on to the next slide, it's really core and crucial during this time to make every meeting count. And I say this is because, you know, when you're in an office space, everyone has this idea of you're in the room, your presence kind of is your contribution to the meeting. But a lot of more enlightened remote working teams have also figured out that actually having long, lengthy meetings doesn't necessarily result in a lot of productivity. And this is one thing I think that a lot of people during this time could actually experiment with and find out for themselves. One of the things I've noticed a lot in my own experience working at like bigger companies like Starbucks or even smaller companies like startups like Udacity, as your team grows in size, um, a lot of people have a challenge actually being involved in a meeting because bigger teams, bigger team meetings, actually a lot of inputs and crucial inputs. It's harder for someone to get their voice heard in. And also, there's a lot of meetings where sometimes there isn't enough preparation and things that aren't properly organized or coordinated. So some of the best practices we've seen is that not all communication actually needs to happen in these meetings. As Zara talked about earlier, we use a methodology called the same page meeting. I'll talk about it a little bit more in a second, but it allows for us to have asynchronous communication inside and outside the meeting and very quickly get stakeholders involved on decisions. Also, one of the things that we like to do is to try and make the meeting time short. So one of the specific things that we do in same page meeting is the initiator of the meeting will create a doc, and in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the meeting, the participants will actually be completely silent. And this is one of the first things I remember when I joined Lark was really interesting to me. I went into a room, everyone was completely silent. And what was happening is everyone was reading the doc to get on the same page. And it actually makes the entire meeting time a lot quicker because everyone kind of gets up to speed instead of the initiator of the meeting giving a big speech about it. And also, it's important to set specific agenda and desired outcomes before each meeting. And in a second, I'll show you why a doc really helps with that. So moving on to the next slide. So as I mentioned, Lark can help with efficient meetings. And the next slide shows a quick video about our same page method. I believe we have a video that we're going to present now. Great. So I hope that video did a little bit of explaining to talk about the same page meeting. But I do think it's one of those things, just like Magic Share, once you try it out, it's really easy to get hooked. As mentioned in the video, one of the best things about it, getting on the same page, is kind of, I guess it's a no-brainer. If someone does the homework to write the clear outcomes of the meeting as well as the context and background about it, instead of having a lengthy discussion to get everyone up to speed, people could quickly read through the doc. This also makes it that people don't have to do a pre-reading before the meeting, and they could just focus on attending the meeting and showing up and getting on the same page quickly. The second big thing that was mentioned in the video, and is really cool to see it in action, is that everyone on the team, no matter if they're comfortable speaking up or not, could actually feel engaged in the discussion and then feel their contributions being valued and engage in what I call like more multi-threaded communication. Multi-threaded versus single-threaded might be if you're having a discussion in a big room or on a video chat, there's like specifically even now, one person's talking and one person's giving feedback. Multi-threaded, while people are actually reading through the doc, could leave comments, and the initiator of the meeting could simultaneously or in tandem to that give feedback to different correspondents in different threads or open threads in the document, which results in point number 3 is that the discussion becomes really well documented. It's really easy for other stakeholders who are coming into it to catch up just by reading through and seeing the line of discussion and how people got to certain decisions. And then the coolest thing, another cool thing, there's a lot of cool things, but another cool thing about it is the at mentions. So suppose you're having a discussion about an advertising campaign plan or a strategy on how to get new sales leads. There was a member that wasn't involved in the conversation. You could quickly at mention them in the doc into a comments thread, and then they could come into the doc and also catch up on the context there and contribute as well. So it's really a great way we found to get people involved no matter where they are and also no matter what the time zone. So moving along from that, we also think that during this time, especially during COVID and when people are working at home, it's important to use tools like this to have fun and also enjoy some team building activities. During this time especially, it could be remote working itself has many benefits, but there's a lot of downsides, including the risk of like personal and professional isolation. Sometimes interaction isn't quite as effective as it is in person, and there's only so much you could do communication-wise through text. So just because you're alone doesn't mean that you're lonely if you have Lark, is what we like to say. I know that was a little cheesy, but I really think so. So, taking the time for water cooler chats maybe this is more of like a North American kind of time. Like I remember when I was working with the Udacity India office, we had chai breaks, and it's fun. Like these are things that happen in the office, and right now during this time, it's tough to carve out time for that. I'll talk about some features in Lark that we've made use of to get people having those unofficial or kind of spontaneous conversations, and also just to be creative about some of the team building activities. As you've seen in the video, the docs feature we have is actually quite interesting. You could do a lot of different things in it, but you could also create video activities. For us, we've been making some remote work bingo games because we're on a lot of calls, so people could use that as a way to pass the time. Digital werewolf, if you're familiar with werewolf or mafia, and also we split up into mini teams to do kind of virtual scavenger hunts as well. So I'll talk a little bit about the water cooler chats I mentioned and how that actually comes into being on Lark. I think if you jump one more slide, or yeah, this one. So we have a feature in all of our group chats on the top called Virtual Office. Now, I like to think of Virtual Office as like a little bit in between, like if texting is too impersonal and video chats seem too scheduled and too much kind of into it. A virtual office is almost like a way that you can have a quick walkie-talkie within a chat room to talk and have some more spontaneous communication with your team. So think of it more like hanging out rather than having a meeting. It's intended to replicate the offline in-person working environment, knowing who's online and knowing when you could talk to your teammates when you have a quick question or if you want to feel like somebody's there working with you. One quick note I'll mention here is that a lot of companies during this time, there's kind of like different phases that they're getting into with remote work. A lot of companies are going from that, what we call that phase 1 into phase 2. Phase 1 is kind of just enabling the tool set for your company to just operate at this level. So a lot of companies have this already with email, calendar, and basic tools. Phase 2 is when people are starting to try and recreate some of the office environments online. So they're still, scheduling kind of lengthy meetings that they would have in a normal office situation. But when phase 3 and phase 4, you're actually starting to adapt to the medium of these tools. And in phase 3, you're starting to adapt to the medium and realizing that there's more efficient ways to work. And phase 4 is actually almost realizing you don't have to have instantaneous conversation and you can have more asynchronous conversation. So I don't want to get too much into a tangent, but it gets pretty cool when you think about it. And one other tool that I wanted to talk about, again, is our video conferencing. If you go to the next slide, it's really easy, again, from the calendar invites. You could set up time. Oh, we could jump to the end there. Oh, we're back on video conferencing. It's really easy to set up a time. And, it really just takes about 2 clicks, 3 clicks to set up a calendar and have fun to check in with your team. And you don't have to worry about like juggling links or fumbling through emails to do it. In Lark, it's super easy to just, from your group chat, 1 click, set up a time. Everyone, we could do a virtual happy hour, or we could do, a virtual session to talk about things. And Lark is always coming out with even more features in our video conferencing that's going to make it even more fun. So that being said, that's kind of the session for today. I hope that you had a great time listening to Zara and me talk about some of the trends we've been seeing in remote work, and definitely encourage everyone to try out Lark. And I think that being said, we'll open it up to some Q&A.
Thanks, Zara and Anant. That was an awesome presentation indeed. And thank you so much for helping people like us who are working remotely in this lockdown period. With that, we have to move to one success story. Like we need to hear some success story from Rajesh Nair, founder Interactive Marketing. Rajesh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Rakesh.
Yeah, Rajesh, over to you.
Thanks. Thanks, Krishna. Yeah, so every time you listen to the presentation, it's really great in terms of what features are, and it's like discovering more and more new things. So thank you everybody for attending the webinar. And so Interactive works with large corporates and now with a lot of SMBs on their go-to-market strategies. And we are India focused, and we work with multinationals and domestic companies in trying to ensure that they are able to, with speed, with clear communication, be able to take their products and services to the consumers or the target segment that they want to do. Over the last 22 years, we have been working, and as all of us know, the way we work has kept on changing. We have a large dispersed force. We are close to present in 10 cities in India, and we have a large force who's across these markets connecting with multiple levels, multiple target segments. And we have always been looking at how do we ensure that beyond the normal physical face-to-face meeting or traveling and connecting with our teams, how do we ensure that the speed of communication increases? How do we ensure that in this digital age, we are able to offer solutions to our customers at a very, very fast pace? We tried building various options for ourselves. We worked with multiple companies, but some of the vision between what we wanted to do, the speed that we wanted to get, versus what we were able to, the kind of products or services we were getting was somehow just not being, was not matching. So instead of reinventing the wheel, that's when we came to know about Lark, and we said that we went through Lark and we said Lark has everything that we wanted to do, and why don't we start using these? We started off with some basic processes that we got on. Slowly, we have added more things. We have just onboarded for a project of ours with a large multinational, close to 400 people onto our organization, onto this project. And this is for the first time that we have been able to do this completely digital. So we have put our entire HR or onboarding of employees to the organization completely on Lark. And it's been working seamlessly. We have been able to make improvements. We have just, in our project flow, added something else yesterday, where we have been able to make it far more stronger for us to be able to onboard seamlessly and at the same time kind of have a repository of all the documents and conversations that we have had. The fact that it is in chat, a whole lot of it is in chat, increases our efficiency with the kind of teams that we have, because typically on a voice call, you tend to ensure that more and more, somehow the conversation just keeps on getting longer and there is work which is happening. Whereas the context or what we want to achieve is really something very short. So text makes it very efficient. And what we are able to do is at any point of time that people are engaged on the text, they are able to respond back. They are able to get their work done faster. And the overall efficiency has increased because of this. Like I said, in terms of, this whole discussion of we wanted to go digital, but the pandemic or COVID-19 kind of fast forwarded the whole thing where we were in a phased manner and we had to move quickly onto and work. Like all of us are now looking at how do we work remote. We are happy that we implemented Lark before this happened, and we are only discovering newer and newer tools, and we are being able to use Lark more and more to be able to increase efficiency. The fact that something like the same page, which just now Zhang spoke about and Anand spoke about, that whole point about being able to do all this on one page is, like Anand said, you have to really experience it to be able to understand that how productive and how easy it is to be able to do. Otherwise, we had this constant thing of people referring multiple sheets, not being able to collaborate or not being able to work seamlessly together as a team. But on Lark, it is quite easy to do that. So it is, and now increasingly going forward, I think all of us are realizing, and like Zara said, that remote working is not the lesser option. That is the option which is going to go. We all have to start probably aligning ourselves to be able to work on this mode of working and build greater efficiencies to it. Are there disadvantages? Sure, there are, because there is, the maturity level of the teams, the openness to move on to a new platform. Those are some of the challenges which we're working. But what we have found at Interactive is that as we have slowly moved on a phase-wise manner all our workforce onto Lark, people are accepting it and people are being able to understand it. A lot of things is because of WhatsApp being there. There was already a comfort level with a chat being there. This is just chat plus adding on the whole organizational processes onto that. We are engaged with Lark now to take some of our financial processes and our CRM processes to integrate. And there, the API-based approach really helps. So there are legacy systems which we have, which can also get integrated into Lark so that there is a comfort with the workforce of the systems that they used. At the same time, it's integrated with this new way of working, which is far more efficient. So towards that, Lark is really helping us move into this digital way of working and also being able to really kind of power the remote working aspect of it. That is where we are at, Krishna. So that's at this point of time in terms of how Interactive is moving.
Completely agree with you, Rajesh, on that. Thank you so much. I think besides increasing productivity, efficiency, the best part Zara mentioned about remote working is that no dress code required, and that is awesome. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Thank you, Rajesh, for those insights.
Most welcome.
Yeah. So moving on to our Q&A session, here is the first query which I have received. Switching from an email communications to a UCC platform is a cultural shift for organizations. If this is what future of work is, then what are some of the best practices for organization undergoing that shift? So anybody from the Lark team would like to respond to that?
Yeah, Krishna, I can take that up. I think that's a very valid point. Email was actually created, if one believes, 50 years ago. And the email way of communicating is an old way. It's a more reactive way of communicating. And it doesn't bring the broader teams onto the same page, if I may say, of getting work done. Whereas the unified communication way helps you simultaneously act upon things. You can respond, you can communicate, you can update, you can add and tag team members. You can get projects done. In fact, integrating communication, including into the document, also helps real-time project management where multiple people across, I'll give an example of a customer in retail industry, where customer feedback from the retail store all the way to the production line or the strategic product team, all of them are on the same page in real time rather than somebody having to create an email, then send the report, then it further gets updated. So unified communication way, which is more chat way, is going to be the future to drive efficiency.
Thanks, Vinay. So Vikas wants to know that how does the product differentiate itself from existing market players? Like if you can tell us about the USPs.
Yes. So obviously there are multiple offerings in the enterprise SaaS business in India as well as globally. Some are a complete suite and some are standalone. What we've seen is for enterprises is typically enterprises are using 6 to 8 applications. In fact, there was a study even done that companies waste or utilize up to 60 minutes per day on switching applications. So an enterprise is using something for video calls, using another application for chat, typically a P2P chat, then as a separate email client, then uses some other tool for online collaboration, and then has its own internal tools or external tools for attendance and approvals. And these keep getting added on based on the business function or the roles. So Lark actually integrates all of that into one and helps. In fact, I would want to further ask Rajesh to share from the number of tools he was using or looking to build and how Lark has transformed it for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have had quite a few conversations around this. We were trying to, and like I said earlier, we were trying to ensure that we are working with clients and we are able to come back or go back to them with right from capturing voice of the customer to be able to build a seamless logistical flow in terms of being able to deliver or ensure that services reach to the customer from the client asset. Yes. So there were, if I were not mistaken, we were using close to 10 different processes to work on, and still it was efficient, and we were struggling to see that how do we get on. And that's when the idea was born of, how do we make one for ourselves which would suit our needs, and we started on this process. Fortunately for us, we had this interaction and the presentation, and we realized that most of it is on Lark. And the balance which is not there, it is easier to build that along with Lark, and Lark has been very supportive. So there goes in terms of that we are able to get all this onto one single platform.
Thanks, Rajesh. Another question similar to that is coming from Bhupinder. He wants to know, how is it different with the web meeting from Cisco?
Anant, Zara, would you like to address that?
Anybody? Anand, Zara, Vinay, Rajesh?
I could take it.
Sorry, could you, the question is how it's different from Cisco WebEx?
That's right, Zara. You got it right.
Okay. I think what really sets, so Lark is a collaboration suite, and video conferencing is a part of that suite. So Lark is much more than just video conferencing. But if we just specifically talk about video calls, the experience of doing video calls on Lark, in my perspective, a lot more seamless and easier than in the WebEx experience. So, for example, from any calendar event, you can just launch a call at one click. There's no need to install anything. There's no need to remember any link, or like people might lose links or don't know where to look. So it's extremely seamless. And also during the calls, you can share Lark docs, not just your screen. And we had some trouble with media sharing actually during this exact webinar, where people may have trouble hearing or seeing videos, or it's lagging a lot. On Lark video call is actually extremely seamless, and we also allow you to using Magic Share, you can actually also play the video locally. So you're not hearing the audio and videos through the cloud, but you're playing it locally. So everything is extremely clear. Those are just some of my observations. Maybe Vinay and Anand can add on.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add on to that as well. I want to echo the fact that Zara said a really key word that I feel it's like this one thing you just have to try it out, is the seamless nature of it. So, if you look at how we talked about Magic Share, one of the cool things is that even getting onto the video call, instead of setting a calendar out, because everyone on your team is already on Lark, when you initiate a video call from a calendar, actually they'll get a notification that the video call has been initiated. So people getting onto the call itself is a lot quicker. And then also Magic Share, as I mentioned before, it's kind of like you got to see it. If you make a Lark doc on a desktop, and then you have, people are in a cab or people are on the go on mobile, you could actually take a Lark Magic call and Magic Share a document, and where you're looking at the document on your desktop will be mobile optimized for someone on their cell phone. The way that you leave comments and feedback on comments is like very quick and easy and more seamless than getting an email notification from a doc server, or even getting it through, you mentioned Flock. Like, it's kind of like piecemealing it together is the status quo today. And it's kind of refreshing when you actually try something else that's designed to work together, instead of a lot of third-party integrations that's being pieced together. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think Bhupinder got the response very right. So with that, here's another question for you. What are some of the common challenges for support teams to drive user adoption and some creative ways that the teams can drive users to use the platform. So if you can throw some light around some creative ways that may help, some innovative ways teams can use.
Sure, I'll take the lead and then pull in Rajesh to further add on that. I think the challenges on user adoption or using any work tool is common across all enterprises, and it only amplifies the larger the enterprise. The key to success is to keep it simple. A tool like Lark or Lark offers multiple applications or capabilities, but the key is to get the team to first use basic communications and then start building workflows. Rajesh, I know you have a large team running into several hundreds. You probably can share a better example of how you were successfully able to adopt Lark across.
Sure, I'll take that. So, which is true, the challenge in terms of, first of all, any change, by our very nature as humans, we are a little resistant to that. You are, in your comfort zone, you don't want to move to a new system. And that is all the more reason that we did not want to go with any half-baked solution. But with Lark, one of the things which allowed us to kind of get this adoption easier is the ease of use. Since, like I said, most people were using either WhatsApp or Snapchat or WeChat or one of those to communicate as it is in their personal lives and with their friends and family doing that. So moving that into that adoption or the ease of use with Lark or the chat function was easy to push through. What we did is, instead of doing a full-fledged launch onto all the functionalities, we started with basic stuff like attendance, because like I said, we have a large force spread across a large geography. So we started with attendance, and that gave them the option of being able to do it through their mobile. And everything at Lark is, mobile first, so you can do it as easily on your mobile as you can do your desktop. So we started with attendance. We moved the onboarding in terms of the entire HR help desk was moved to Lark. And as people started using it, they started realizing the ease with which they could get vis-a-vis earlier when they would send an email or they would try to contact the help desk on the phone with the timings. As we got that, so I think the key is that we slowly take the team through some basic functions into it and be able to, and as they use it, I think the suite itself ensures that people understand the ease of use and will be able to move more things onto that. So I think that's the approach to take from an adoption perspective.
Thanks, Rajesh. Very important question coming from Ruchi now. Ruchi wants to know, can this platform be successful for rewards and recognitions, virtual town halls which are organized at office?
A great question. In fact, it's very important for an organization to stay connected, right, and communicate. So there are two capabilities I would like to highlight. One obviously is the announcement capability. So one, you obviously have smaller chat groups or conversational groups, but there is something called the announcement capability, which you can make a enterprise-wide announcement of rewards and recognitions. Now the capability is rich media, so you can attach images, videos, files, text, comments, pictures, and make it more meaningful when you share rewards and recognitions across your enterprise. Virtual town halls, yes, Lark offers live streaming, which the enterprise can use and conduct a live streaming, almost like a virtual town hall, or CEO's all hands meet, or HR teams training session. So the live streaming capability can be used by the enterprise to communicate and speak to the whole organization.
Wonderful. That's great to know about it. Now, there's another question. Yeah. With working from home being the new norm, how has your company adjusted to this sudden change in work environment? Maybe Rajesh, if you can throw light on that front, that how companies are adjusting to that.
Sure. Not an easy one at all. Like I said, I don't think any of us was prepared for us to move into this kind of a complete transition. quite a few organizations, like I said, our own organization, we have been thinking about how to move quite a bit of processes digital and make it seamless. But none of us had ever planned for being able to do kind of a hard shift from one day to the next into remote working. So it is challenging. There is at different levels, different teams, different challenges coming up in terms of being able to completely adapt to this. There is some time and speed which is lost because of this transition, but these are extraordinary times. These are things that we have never seen before, and everybody's working towards doing that. In fact, we are using the live streaming feature to be able to train and retrain people in terms of our workforce to be able to understand the new ways of doing business and using the new platform far more effectively. So to answer that question, all of us have to start working towards it. I think in a way it's advantageous right now because in change management, one of the first things that you need to do is have an open mind. So today, everybody is kind of understood that with the lockdown extending, with this being not like a short 5-10 day kind of an affair and it going for a couple of months, everybody is understood that we have to look at how to continue business, how to be able to service and start getting on with our work. And that openness helps in getting this change done faster. If you have a product or a platform, again, like Lark, which is seamless and is easy to use, that makes it all the more easier to be able to make this shift. Krishna?
Yeah, that's right. Like initial problems, if you can overcome, then things get smooth.
Yeah.
So here's another question. If anybody from the Lark team can respond to that, out of three components of future of work, workplace, workforce, and work culture, which one do you think will be a leading indicator for changing the landscape of communication and collaboration for your organization?
Could you say it one more time? The three of them? It was like workplace.
Workplace, workforce, and work culture. Which one do you think will be a leading indicator for changing the landscape of communication and collaboration for your organization?
Wow. I'm taking a second to think about it. Zara, feel free to jump in if you have an answer.
I think my personal view is culture, because your workplace might change as we're witnessing right now. We don't even have physical workplaces anymore. Your workforce can also change. So as your business evolves, the type of employees you need and hire will also change. But culture is something that's really can stay your competitive advantage in the long run. So I believe whether a company can last 5 years or 50 years is really a function of the culture that you have. And our perspective is culture and tool are seamlessly tied together. So it's really hard for you to build the right culture without the right tools to realize that. So I'll give you an example. If you want to enforce the culture of openness, but your employees don't even know the contact information of this company's senior leadership or cannot reach them in any easy way, or if they join a group chat, they cannot see the chat history and have no contact, then that makes it really hard for you to implement more open and transparent culture, and vice versa. So I think every company needs to think about the kind of culture they want and really make, I think that's going to be the key competitive advantage, especially in a time where everything else about your company can be in flux.
Thanks, Sarah. So here we are at the end of this session. If the host can help me with more queries, if there are any questions besides this USPs and all that, Vincent, we will respond to you offline on that, whatever queries you have. Are there any query? Piyush? If
No,
you
no,
wanna-
I think we are good here.
Okay, great. With that, here we are at the end of this session. Thank you, Anand, Zara, Vinay, and Rajesh for your insights. But let me reach out to you once again for your final word, like the key takeaway and the message you would like to give to our audience. Zara, let me start with you first, ladies first.
Uh,
Yeah, the key message you would like to give to our audience today. Zara, can you hear me? Zara, can you hear me? I think she has lost.
Maybe a connection. I'll go first. Okay.
Please go ahead.
I was muted just now. Wait. I think
Zara, your
The
connection
voice
is coming in and out.
Yeah,
That connection is bad here.
Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you now better.
Okay. I think the key message is very here.
We can't catch your words. Is it for me or is it for everybody?
No, Zara's connection is not good at the moment.
Yeah. So let me reach out to Anand. Anand, if you can help us with your key message for our audience.
Yeah, the key message I think is going back to the title, work and play together. Everyone, this is tough times. It's not an easy task for any team of any size. And I think given the nature of the times, it's actually a great opportunity to try out new methodologies and new tools. It actually might prove to be things that during this time, it's also a really interesting blessing to try and see to how it makes your company evolve and reach out to it with an open mind, but also remember about the emotional well-being of everyone during this time and remember to kind of keep some of those activities online. I think you'll actually see a lot of the dividends it plays and helping the team. A lot of people, especially our team, and speaking from the heart, as we're affected here in the US too, we find that there's a lot of remote working happening, but a lot of remote playing. And people reach out to their teammates a lot. So keep that in mind and try out Lark.
Thanks, Anand, for those views. You are right. This is high time when we should try new ways, and we should explore new ways of working. It was great having you today. Let me reach out to Vinay now. Vinay, your final message for our audience.
Like Anand said, right, these are unprecedented times. Quick 3 words, stay safe, stay home, but stay connected. And I think stay connected is both personal with your friends and family, but also with your team. I think in these times, the more you engage with your teams in various activities or conversations, that's where the culture comes in, what even Zara spoke. So stay home, stay safe, and stay connected.
Thanks, Vinay. Rajesh, your final word, please.
Yeah. So, these are, whenever change happens, I think these are also opportunities and in those ways, new opportunities, technology is also a great leveler. I think the use of technology by businesses and organizations to think about new ways and means of delivering service or offering solutions to customer, this is like a great time to do that. There is a need for all of us to reinvent, because we have seen a huge shift in the way we, as a civilization or as humans as a whole, the way we are and what we are doing. I think it's time for, this is a good time for organizations to rethink, look at how they can address the new needs or the new pain points that people have and offer solutions which could take you to the next level or your organization to the next level. So embrace all these technology products, work and play. So play with this technology along with it and be able to offer solutions and take your organization to the next level or overcome this crisis that we're seeing right now. That's what
Thanks, Rajesh. Yeah, work and play together. That's right. Zara, let me reach out to you once again. Can I have your final word?
Hello?
Yeah, Zara.
Okay. I think even though this current time is definitely our business is going during special time, also need an opportunity to operate our way and encourage from
We can't hear her. Is it for me or her voice is breaking for everybody?
for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine, Zara. You can just write your message over the chat window. That would be fine. Our audience would, yeah, see that. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It was great having you, all of you, and special thanks to our speakers for today, Rajesh, Vinay, Anant, and Zara. And once again, like if you have any feedback and query, please reach out to me at krishna.mukherjee@timesgroup.com. I will repeat, it's krishna.mukherjee@timesgroup.com. Last but not the least, please take care, stay indoors, and stay safe. And thank you again for joining the Economic Times Live webinar powered by Lark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.